Hey everybody, I hope you guys are doing well. I've got another video for you today. This one is kind of a discussion of pickups from a card show that I attended this past weekend. I did go out to Michigan to visit family, and while I was there, I was able to attend a card show in Livonia, Michigan. And this video, I wanted to just talk about kind of what I picked up and talk about the similarities and differences between attending shows in Michigan versus attending shows in Colorado, where I live. And there definitely seem to be some differences that I've picked up over the years. I have gone to shows. I guess I went to shows when I was a kid, so I'm not going to compare those. A lot of those were like when I was a kid, were kind of in malls where you would have sellers smoking cigarettes and selling cards and stamps. There would be tons of stamp sellers too, where like old guys would be looking through books of stamps, which you don't see that anymore. But I think stamp collectors have kind of died out and been replaced by Pokemon collectors. But anyway, my 1980s card experiences at card shows in Michigan are very different from modern 2025 experiences. But I've gone to card shows. I've gone to 3 in the past 3 years, and kind of what I experienced with those is a little bit different from Colorado in a good way. First thing that I noticed at the Livonia card show, and before I even get to that, what I gather of the Livonia show is that it's fairly frequent. I don't know if it's weekly or it's at least monthly, and a lot of it is the same sellers from show to show. And from speaking with the sellers, it sounds like they said that there's 3 or 4 shows every weekend in Michigan at any given time, so there's a lot of choices to choose from. And I haven't been to the others, so hopefully this kind of translates over to the other shows. It may not. They may be very different from what I experienced at the Livonia show, and if it is, that makes me want to go back to the Livonia show again. Because at the first thing I noticed is there's very little Pokemon. I think I saw one seller that had Pokemon at the entire show, and I don't remember if there were any last year, but the first year that I went to a show was 2 years ago. I went to the Troy Card Show, and I don't know if it's called the Troy Card Show, but it was in Troy, Michigan. And it was very similar to the one in Livonia, which I went to last year, and went to the same one this year. And the thing that I noticed from the outset is that it had a lot of vintage, not just baseball, hockey, football. Seemed like every seller had at least a little bit of vintage. Modern, there weren't as many modern sellers, and the people that had modern also had vintage. And it seemed like the sellers in general were a lot older than the sellers that we see in Colorado. We see all ages in Colorado, but it seemed that by and large, a lot of these are like guys who've been collecting for 50, 60 years, and are kind of letting stuff go at this time as well. And there's also, it seemed like there were several sellers who were just focusing on like Detroit Tigers stuff or Detroit stuff. They had everything from pennants to programs to buttons to like every sort of like little trinket or paraphernalia, marketing paraphernalia for the team you could find over the decades, which is pretty cool. And those guys only sold Tigers stuff. Like the cards they had were only Tigers or Lions or local teams, which you don't see a lot of that in Colorado. You'll see like they'll have boxes, like they'll have Colorado Avalanche boxes, or not that people really want Rockies boxes, but they'll have sections that are kind of devoted just to the team. But some of them have all teams, but there's some that will have like bigger local team ones. But it's not like, you don't see the level of devotion and fanfare that you see at a show like this, which was really cool. Because there's one guy that I went to that had all that stuff for Tigers, but he also had a bunch of binders of he had like 4 binders just of autographed Tigers cards that he had personally gotten himself going back to the 50s. And I bought a few off him, and his prices were pretty decent too. They're like $8 or 10 or 12 bucks, and he has cards going back to the 50s. For example, I got a 1954 Topps Ned Garver, signed by Ned Garver from him. I also got, Also got Paul Foytak, who's passed away, and a couple 85 tops as well that I didn't have yet, because I think I'm working on a 1985 tops team set of autographed. I want to get the entire team autographed, but I got Sid Monch and Doug Bear. I guess Doug Bear this weekend was showing up at a card show in Toledo with Dave Rosema. I was not going to Toledo, so I didn't get a signature there, and they do not bring Tigers out to Colorado to shows. So, and these guys don't sign through the mail, so I was able to get those ones from him. And I chatted with him for a while, and I was wondering, why are you letting all these go if you have stories? I mean, he was telling the stories behind every autograph and when and where he got it signed, and he said, he's in his 70s, and he can't keep stuff forever, and kind of is letting stuff go, and it's kind of sad that a little piece of his collection is going away. He says it makes him sad every time he sells something, but he's kind of happy to let it go at the same time. But it was kind of cool to get those from him. But getting back to the show in general, one of the other things I noticed about it was that they seem to have a lot more table space, and I'm guessing that one of the complaints that I've heard from sellers in Colorado, I've never sold at a show in Colorado, but just from talking with people, is that the price has gone up so much for each table, and like the table space has shrunk so much that they can only really afford to bring their really like pricey, like top tier stuff. They can't bring just like boxes of random 25-cent cards, 5-cent cards, 10-cent cards, commons, whatever, because there's just no room to actually put it. And here it seems like they can stretch out 3 tables if they want to, so there's a lot of guys that are bringing like quarter boxes and nickel boxes and 50-cent boxes and commons. So there's a lot of like the lower stuff, like if you're a set collector, which there still are set collectors, or if you're just interested in lower cheap penny and dime type cards, there's a lot of that there to dig through, which that was the other thing. Like, I can kind of go through Denver card shows pretty quickly. There's usually some boxes of cards and top loaders to go through, but here it just seems like there's a lot more like cards and like boxes of sleeved cards, which you can fit a lot of sleeved cards in a box, and it just seems like it takes hours for you to just dig through everything. But you can find a lot of really fun stuff, and that was one really cool aspect of it. That I think that, and that might be the reason why some of these sellers choose this show over another show, is because table space is cheaper and they can bring out everything, which is kind of fun. So I definitely liked that about this set, but just overall the amount of vintage that was there really kind of speaks to me, especially vintage hockey. And Detroit is one of the original 6 teams of hockey. So I think that people have been collecting hockey a lot longer in Detroit than they have in a market like Denver, where we did have the Colorado Rockies back in the 70s and early 80s, but that kind of went away, and we didn't get the expansion, or not expansion, but the moving of the Nordiques until the 90s to Colorado. So people weren't collecting it throughout the 80s, they weren't accumulating it, so there's not a lot of vintage hockey in general. And also, people don't really know the vintage players in Colorado. They know them in Michigan, they grew up with them, and so it seems like there's a lot more of affinity toward that, or just a knowledge of that. Although, albeit the sellers that I did speak with about it said that there aren't a lot of people that are coming around buying vintage hockey cards. Even though a lot of people like it out there, it's not a big seller, which didn't surprise me. Vintage hockey doesn't seem to sell in a lot of places. I know in Colorado, there's like all of the hockey sellers say that like me and some other guy who I haven't met yet are like the only 2 guys that go around asking for vintage, which is kind of sad because I love that stuff. It's some of my favorite cards to collect. But anyway, I was able to find some, and able to find vintage baseball as well, some of all the sports really. But in general, it's just a really cool experience, and got some great cards. I thought everybody's prices were super reasonable as well. But it's a nice change to see a bit more of that. and a little bit, not that I hate or have anything against the Pokemon, but it seems like it's Pokemon people are kind of taking over the shows, and I'm not sure if they just sell more so that they can afford the tables easier than some of the sports card sellers, and the prices of the tables have gone up so that it makes more financial sense for them to buy into these tables, and it's more difficult or becoming more difficult for the sports card sellers. If you're a seller, let me know in the comments. I'm curious kind of if that's the reason, or what the biggest reason is for why we're seeing kind of this. I mean, other than the popularity, obviously things go in trend cycles and whatnot as well. And right now, Pokemon is super hot, but it seems like there's something else beyond that as to why it's not just the Pokemon coming in, but it seems like there's less sports card sellers in general. There's sellers that I would always see at shows that never seem to be there anymore, and I'm wondering, did they disappear because it got too expensive to buy a table, or what the reason is for that? But it's kind of sad to see some of those guys go. Like, there was a guy that would always show up with just like boxes and boxes of Tiffany cards, which I absolutely love the Topps Tiffany cards. So it's always fun to dig through his dollar boxes at Tiffany's. That guy I haven't seen in a couple of years, but hoping he shows up at some point again. But I'm wondering if he got priced out of the market. Could be, don't know. But anyway, Livonia show was super fun, and without further ado, let's get to the cards that I picked up. 1 second here. Hey everybody, welcome back. I've got my cards now that I picked up in Livonia. It definitely looks like a lot of them, and there kind of are a lot of them, but there's a lot of boxes to go through, and I got some fun stuff. Lots of Tigers in this one. As you may or may not know, I do like to collect Tigers. I'm not fully a set collector yet. I kind of have binders of all the 50s and 60s and 70s sets, but I haven't gotten to the point on any of them where I'm looking to try to complete any sets. But I do kind of go after Tigers, and if anything, I'm like a Tigers team set collector and collect any old Tigers that I don't have yet. So starting off with this 1950 Bowman. And there's this one guy who I have a lot of from him. It seems to be one of the, I can't get this one to focus. Seems to be one of the sellers there that has the most people standing around his tables. He has like 3 tables, 3 giant tables in a row, and tons of boxes, and he sells them based on these colored stickers for like $3 or $2 or $5, and just has really good, a huge selection to go through. And he writes on it low and high, which are Beckett low and high numbers. Oh, here's another thing, just to show you kind of where these guys are at, the sellers, is that there were 3 different sellers there that when you ask them their prices, they pull out a paper Beckett and look up the paper Beckett, the price in the paper Beckett. So these guys are that old school that they're still relying on paper Beckett's to, I didn't even know Beckett still makes paper magazines, but they all had them when they were going off of them. And this guy puts the low and high of Beckett in his pricing thing. So that's kind of interesting, but ends up charging $3. But the first one is Virgil Trucks, who he was one of 2 Tigers players, him and Justin Verlander, who pitched more than 1 no-hitter. And he pitched a couple of them as well. He was just he's not very well known anymore, but I can't get anything to focus. Sorry about that. But he, and maybe it's because I've got these other stacks. Maybe if I move them, then I can focus on that a little bit better. There we go. We'll just do that then. Sorry about that. Let's get a little more organized. So there we go. Virgil Trucks. He is a Tigers player that if you don't know him, you should know about him, because he was really good at pitching, and pitched a couple no-hitters, and was on one of 2 Tigers, as I mentioned before, who did that. So really cool card to have. Next up are some 53 Topps, which I always love. 53s. These don't have any creases. They got some wear and stuff, but for $3, Detroit Tigers 53 Topps, I'm always into. Also got J.W. Porter as well. Here is a 54 Bowman, Harvey Keene rookie. Here is and he has lots of Tigers, and he kind of puts all his Tigers like up on this kind of pedestal thing, or I don't know what you want to call it, but he has with different tiers to kind of showcase his cards, and puts a bunch from his boxes of top loaders all over that, and as people buy them off of that, he pulls more out and sticks them up on there. But here's Jim Delsing, 1956 tops. Just more random Tigers. This is Jim Small. Like a lot of these, as you can tell, all came from him. Tim Thompson, he definitely had a lot of Tigers as well. Steve Boros. This was from a different seller. They're in order from year and numerical order, so I've got different sellers mixed up everywhere. And I made bulk deals, so I didn't pay the number on the front for any of them. But here's a Louis Aparicio, 1958 tops. These ones I'll go through fast because they're kind of commons, but they were just dollar cards. Red Wilson, that was 2. And I made a deal with this guy on a big stack of them, so I didn't end up paying like his full asking price of $1 each on everything. Bob Turley, just a bunch of 1958 tops. Don Elston, Wally Post, Dave Melton, Stan Williams, 59s now, Dale Long. Here's a 1959 tops Warren Spahn, which I didn't have. Doesn't have the best centering, but it was a cool card. More 59 tops. Here's Ken Boyer, 1960 tops, great player, great card. This is probably the priciest card that I bought at the show, and probably my favorite pickup was this really nice condition Willie Mays, 1961 tops that just was really cool. Just really sharp, really great condition, and it was a good price too. So, and we got Paul Foytak again in 1962 tops. Here is a Manny Mota rookie from 1963 tops. So none of these are like really pricey cards, a lot of them other than the Willie Mays, but they're still fun cards. Here's a Jim Northrup rookie that was $1, and I didn't notice it actually has a crease on it, so I'm probably going to have to replace it at some point, but it's still pretty cool to get a Jim Northrup rookie. Jake Wood, Mattingly, which I didn't have that one. Some basketball, Wes Unseld, another one of him. And then this one on the back is Julius Erving, on the front too, but the slam dunk one is Julius Erving, Dr. J. Here's an Art Monk. Here is an Eric Dickerson rookie, which I got because I believe he signed so I can get that autographed. Same with Warren Moon. This one ended up in my stack. I did not pick it out, and then when I went through my cards after I saw it was there, so I don't know if he accidentally, when he's going through and adding up my things, grabbed another card, but somehow I got this Joe Montana card that I did not intend to purchase, ended up in my stack. And now getting to some vintage hockey, which there was a little bit of it, not as much as last year, but there was some. Here's Ken Warham. And a lot of Red Wings too. Claude LaForge, as a lot of them focus on them. Here's an Alex Delvecchio, and I believe these are 1958 Bowmans. I always get my Bowman wrong, but I think this is 1960 Bowman. More Red Wings, Jerry Melnick, Pete Gogan, Marcel Provenos. I already had this card, but this one kind of looked nice, and I wasn't sure if it's better than the one I had, and the price was good that I paid for it. Here's another Claude Lafarge. Val Fontaine. And then these guys are ones that I didn't have yet, but Peter Gogan again, and then this one is Ian Kushin. Don't know those guys, but didn't have them. Here's a Ken Dryden. That was from that same other seller. Here's Ray Bork, I believe, isn't it? Yeah, from 1980. I hate how it doesn't say who they are, and you have to scratch it off to find out. Just random Joe Sakic. He also had some Beatles cards, which are kind of cool as well. I love that stuff and pick it up whenever I come across it. Yeah, and it's the Monkeys as well. So those are my top loader cards. And then just random sleeves. And this guy had same seller as the other ones. He had it, cards and sleeves were 50 cents if they had a dot on it, no matter what color the dot was. And then if they had no dot, then they were 25 cents. So ended up just getting a bunch of like 50 and 25 cent cards, just random Tigers, some 61 tops, which are kind of cool. I think 50 cents or a quarter for 60s cards are always worth it. And especially ones I don't have yet. White Sox team card from 65. Here's 67 tops, rookie stars, Tigers. Oops. Just more. I'll try to go through these fast, just random 67s. Nothing too great, but just fun stuff. Willie McCovey All-Star. Bill Lee rookie, which is pretty cool for $1. Some Tigers rookie stars. Bob Lemon. I didn't realize I got 2 of this card until I put them in order. I thought I only grabbed 1, which happened on a couple cards I got. Ron Santo, Wayne Garrett, Indians rookies, Dick Green, which I believe he signs. So that's for that. Just random 1971 tops. This one is another one that I got 2 of accidentally. But I don't know. There's Buddy Bell rookie for 50 cents, pretty good. John Matlock, Ken Holtzman. So none of these are that great. Oh, actually some of them are. Veda Pinson, Sandy Alomar, Jim Northrup, Dick Williams, Jerry Kuzman. This one I accidentally got 2 of. Cesar Cedeno. Here's a Sparky Anderson manager card that I didn't have yet. Manny Mota, Vita Blue, Andy Messersmith, Bobby Bonds, Dusty Baker, Manny Mota, Veda Pinson, Rusty Staub, Dave Lopes, Al Bunbury, Boog Powell, Vita Blue, Raleigh Fingers, 77. Oops. Trying to keep these in order. 75. Sorry. Okay. Brett Bylevin, although that one had a corner that got dinged that I didn't notice. Mickey Lilich when he was on the Padres. Raleigh Fingers, Reggie Jackson, 81 Alan Trammell, Ozzie Smith, Tim Raines, Andy Van Slyke rookie, Mike Schmidt 85 tops, Cecil Fielder rookie, which I'm going to send to Cecil Fielder with the chicken card to get signed. Randy Johnson rookie, Travis Fryman. I tried to send him a request for TTM through the mail. He's not a TTM guy, but he is with the Guardians organization, and I tried sending one to them. It never came back. This one would be an awesome one to get signed if he were to actually sign them, but he doesn't. Wes Unseld, I believe, signs. Artis Gilmore signs as well. Got one of him. Adrian Dantley, another guy who signs and was on the Pistons. Patrick Ewing. This one was another one that randomly got into my stack that I don't remember grabbing. And then had some hockey as well. Ralph Backstrom, Ken Hodge, Wayne Cashman for 25 cents. Always worth it. Rick Kehoe, Wayne Cashman, Silaps, Daryl Sittler, Marcel Dion, Barry Beck on the Rockies, Dale McCourt, Bill Barber, Dennis Potvin, Dave Babich, Mike Bossy, and then a bunch of, I think these are all Peachy, or most of them are Phil Housley, Gil Peralt, Sylvan Turgeon, Bernie Nichols, Charlie Simmer, Brian Bellows, Brian Trottier, Bill Barber, Bernie Federico, Mike Luit, which I believe he lives in suburban Michigan as well, or suburban Detroit, and I've tried sending one to him and it never came back. I don't think he's really a big TTM guy. Joe Mullen, Mike Gartner, Scott Stevens, Ray Bork, Lanny McDonald. This guy has the best mustache in hockey. And then Michael Goulet, Peter Stastny, he does sign through the mail. Dale Hayward-Chuck, I believe he passed away. Dennis Savard, Mike Goulet, Mike Bossy, Bernie Nichols, and these ones are tops, I guess. Darren Pang, Sakic Koivu, rookie, Peter Forsberg, and another Joe Sakic, which I always love Super Joe, and Habs in general, so that's cool. And then, because I bought all those cards and all the other ones as well, and because I'm a huge fan of 1984 Donruss, he threw in this stack of 84 Donruss Commons, which I absolutely love this set. I think it has some of the best photography until the 89 Upper Deck set came out. For some reason, I think just the difference in photography from 83 to 84 on Donruss, and then from 84 to 85 even, like they did something completely different with just the level of skill that they employed to do those cards are just absolutely beautiful. I thought up until 89 Upper Deck, I didn't think there was a more beautiful set of cards. And but anyway, he gave me this huge stack of them. Hopefully, a bunch of these guys are TTM guys, so hopefully I can get some of them signed. Otherwise, they're just kind of fun to collect. Not really worth much, but I enjoy them, so I was happy to get those. Anyway, that's what I picked up at the Livonia card show. I hope I can go back at some point in the near future, but it was a ton of fun, and I really enjoyed the experience. And if you guys watched through this video and saw the cards that I showed, please leave a comment saying what you thought were cool, and also just talk about your own card show experiences as well, and differences if you've gone to them in different cities. I think everybody should try to go beyond where you live and go see what card shows look like in other places, because it seems like there's a lot of differences depending on where you go. But anyway, that's what I got for this weekend, and I hope I will see you guys on the next one. Take care. Bye.